Yes. So hope you have understood whatever we have learned yesterday. Different battles we have seen. We have seen about Battle of Plassey. What is the purpose of having the war? All that we have seen. Yes. So today we will be learning about how the Britishers entered into India. That's what we have seen. The British East India Company. So that we will be learning today. And then after that, what are the different programs they have brought into, and what are the subsidiary alliance, what are the different kinds of wars like Anglo Mysore war. All these we will see. Like we have seen Portuguese, Dutch, French, all that we have seen, but today we will be learning about especially the Britishers alone. Okay. Yes. So that we enter, we have to learn this lesson. Monday I will give you revision based on this cycle test. Okay, fine, children. So today we will be learning this, continue this lesson, new lesson. So we have to start today with the English East India Company. I have told you this English East India Company was started in the year 1600. Yes, because they received a royal charter from Queen Elizabeth. I have told you she only gave, she was a queen at the time for the England. Yes, so she gave the right to have the trade between England and the East Indies. Yes, and using this right, and also that time there was a decline of the Mughal Empire in India. So using that situation also, the Britishers entered into India and established their settlements in India. First they started the textile centers everywhere. Okay, the textile centers. They forced the Indian farmers to stop producing all the food crops because they are not going to receive any benefit out of the food crops. They compelled the Indians to grow only the cash crops, especially the indigo plant. Okay, indigo cultivation. Indigo is a type of a plant where they can produce the blue color dye. Okay, the blue color dye. So that dye can be used for all the textiles, the blue color cloth. Fine. So indigo plantation was done by the Britishers. They forced the Indians to do only the indigo plantation, and it was exported to the other places also. Okay. So they settled in India as traders. They settled in India as traders. Though Portuguese were the first person, Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India, then he came to India, then after that only all the other European countries followed him to India. Slowly, Portuguese, French, Dutch, all these people entered into India. Okay, the Britishers also used to that situation, used the route and entered into India. Though Portuguese were the first person who entered into India, these Britishers captured, okay, and drove out all the other countries out of India. They chased all the others. Who? The Britishers. Okay, and they started to start many industries. They managed to start many industries in India, like in Surat, Madras. Okay, Madras, they started the industries in the year 1639, Bombay 1668, and Calcutta 1690. Yes, and not only that, many companies were started by them between 1650 to 1655. In 1657, the EEIC, English East India Company, got the rights to trade in India, and it was considered as the sole joint stock company. It was the only company who can have the trade relationship with India, and they can take decisions in India. Okay, so this is how they started their position in India. First, they settled in India. They started many companies, many industries. First, they started the textile industry. Then they compelled the farmers to grow these kind of cash crops. So all these were done by the Britishers. Okay, then they wanted to capture Bengal now. So there was a war between them. This is called what? Conquest of Bengal. So the first British factory came up in Bengal in the year 1651. Which year? 1651. The first factory, British factory, came up in Bengal in the year 1651 along the banks of the river Hooghly. Okay. Then after 1690, the EEIC began to fortify the settlement of traders, merchants, and others. They wanted to settle there in Bengal totally. They wanted to have that full control over Bengal. Okay. Then they got the Zamindari rights over 3 villages over there. One was which Calicut, which was to become Calcutta now. Okay, how it was called as Calicut. Okay, Calicut. Understood? Now the future capital of British India. It was called as Kolkata was the capital of. They made Kolkata as a capital for them. Who? The Britishers. How they got? How they have chosen the place? They settled in Bengal. They made them as their fort. They started their trade. They were able to capture 3 places, and they got the zamindari rights over there in 3 places, 3 villages. One of that village is Calicut. After that, it was renamed as Calcutta, which was made as the British capital at that time. Yes, so in 1717, the Mughal emperor granted the EEIC the right of duty-free trade. Duty-free trade means they can have the trade, but they need not pay any taxes. So the Mughal emperor granted that permission for the Britishers to have the trade without paying any taxes. And that was misused by the companies. That was misused by the company officials. They started doing the private trade, private business. Actually, they came to India to work for that country, but they started doing their private business also over there. Okay, by using and misusing the right, they started doing lot of trade between the countries and they made huge profits. Okay, because they bought all the raw materials at a very lower cost and they sold that product, finished product at a very higher cost. Okay, very higher cost. So what happened? Because of that misuse of that power, now the Bengal started, okay, Bengal started facing loss because very cheaper rate they got the raw materials, but they sold the products at a very higher rate. So they faced a loss of revenue to the state of Bengal. So what happened? That time Siraj-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of Bengal. Nawab means like a king. Yes, Siraj-ud-Dawla. Who? Okay, Siraj-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of Bengal at that time. Yes, so he compelled the British. He insisted the British to pay taxes, stop all fortification, that is capture the places and building their fort all over the places. Stop all fortifications and they should not mint there. So Britishers even started minting. We should not say that producing the coins or producing the currency. We have to say that minting. Mint is the word. Okay, learn it. So he told that they should not mint their own coins and they should not interfere in Siraj-ud-Dawla's political administrative structure in Bengal. But the company did not listen to any of the words whatever told by Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, they had a battle with Siraj-ud-Dawla. Yes, because whatever Siraj-ud-Dawla said, the EEIC did not listen to anything. This made Siraj-ud-Dawla angry. So Siraj-ud-Dawla wanted to have a war on the British East India Company. Okay, British East India Company, and he attacked the Britishers and told the Britishers to move out of the city. To move out of the city. So what happened after that? Okay, then after that, what happened? So this is an incident which is called the Black Hole of Calcutta. So what is that called, Black Hole of Calcutta? Or we can say that Black Hole episode. Okay, it is also called as the Black Hole episode. You can see this is not just a picture which is shown to you just for the reference. You can see there There is no place for them to stand also. One above the other, the people were blocked inside a room. Okay, so here what is given there? From this incident, after this incident, there was only one survivor, and few survivors were there. After that, they died. Only one survivor was a witness of this incident. He only told about that incident. That is 100 and that time the governor, according to John Zephaniah, okay, Zephaniah Hallwell, one of the survivor of the incident and self-proclaimed governor of Calcutta. He was called as a governor of Calcutta. 146 English prisoners had been confined during the night in a small room known as the Black Hole. It was a very, very, very small room, but 146 British prisoners were put into the jail-like structure. Okay, jail-like structure. This room was only 18 feet long and 14 feet and 10 inches wide. 10 inches wide. Hardly, if we stand, hardly 10 members can stand. 10 to 15 members maximum. But imagine, so in that place, like 146 Englishmen were locked inside because they did not want to listen to Siraj Dowlah's advice or whatever it is. So this was the incident happened at the time. Okay, so there were only 23 survivors உயிர் வாழ்ந்தவங்க. Okay, 23 survivors after the incident. When the room was opened the next morning, the whole night they were locked inside. So they couldn't survive over there without any air or without any place to stand. How many British people? 146 English prisoners. Okay, all the others, they died due to suffocation. 123 people died due to suffocation. So that is why it is called as the Black Hole episode. It was done in the overnight, only one night this punishment was given, but it was a great incident, considered as a great incident. This is called as the Black Hole episode. Then after that, Battle of Plassey happened. Okay, the EEIC sent Robert Clive from Madras to recover Calcutta from Nawab. He sent Robert Clive because we know very well that that time governors were appointed by the English East India Company to manage all the places. So they sent Robert Clive to capture Calcutta, we can say, or take back Calcutta from the Nawab. Okay, so somehow they had a talking between them. Robert Clive and the Nawab had a talk between them. But what happened? It was a failure one. All the negotiations came to a failure one. So Robert Clive, he led means leading. Okay, he led the English forces against him in the famous Battle of Plassey. So it was a famous battle which was happened in the place called Plassey. That is why we call it as Battle of Plassey against Siraj Dowlah. Okay, Robert Clive led a troop and war happened. Battle happened over there. Okay, battle happened over there. And not only that, at that time, Mir Jafar, the next person who had to take the position for Bengal was Mir Jafar. So what happened? He was the commander in chief of the forces. So not only he fought against the Britishers. Okay, he fought against the Britishers also, but somehow Robert Clive was able to. Okay, Robert Clive was able to talk to him and got him to his side. He promised, Robert Clive promised Mir Jafar that he will make him as the Nawab of Bengal after Siraj Dowlah. After Siraj Dowlah. Okay, fine. So because of that, Mir Jafar helped the Britishers and this Siraj Dowlah was captured and killed. Siraj Dowlah was captured and killed. Later, first he was captured and after that they killed him. He was captured near the banks of the river Bhagirathi. So who helped the Britishers, especially Robert Clive? Mir Jafar. So some small picture is shown to you. It's all like the drawn one. It's an art of that Battle of Plassey. The real pictures are not there. So after that, now Bir Jafar helped the Britishers. Siraj-ud-Dawla was captured and he was killed by the Britishers later. After the Battle of Plassey, Mir Jafar was replaced by his Mir Jafar was made as the Nawab. Then after that, he was replaced by his son-in-law, Mir Qasim, son-in-law. Okay, and he was made the Nawab of Bengal. He granted the Britishers the right to collect revenues from the districts of Bengal. Now, this son-in-law of Mir Jafar, he granted the rights. What kind of right is given? The Britishers can collect the taxes from the cities of Bengal. Okay, now the Britishers initially entered into India as traders, but now they are not traders. Okay, they become the owner of each and every land wherever they captured. Okay, they now totally controlled the Nawab, the Battle of Plassey, after the Battle of Plassey. Okay, so here the company was given the right to trade without having to pay taxes. So Robert Clive and other officials of the EEIC secured huge rewards for themselves from the Nawab, including zamindari rights over 24 parganas. Now we say districts. So they got the zamindari rights over 24 parganas. That time it was called as parganas. Fine. Now we call it as districts. Now the next battle is called Battle of Bassa. It was a battle which was fought on 24th October 1764 between the British East India Company, which was led by Hector Munro, okay, and the combined army of Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Bengal. Yes, Nawab of Bengal. Sujadu Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, and the Mughal king. It's not Siraj Dawla, it is Sujadu Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, and the Mughal king Shah Alam II. This battle happened in a place called Bagzar, okay, and that is also within the territory of the Bengal only. It is inside Bengal only. This is located on the banks of Ganges River. First one, Bhagirathi River. Now this is the Ganges River, about 130 kilometers west of Patna, capital of Bihar. Okay, so British East India Company won this battle. Who won the battle? British East India Company won the battle and captured Mir Qasim and the others. That's Sujat Dawla and Mughal king Shah Alam II. Now, after the Battle of Buxa, Clive defeated Mir Qasim. Okay, and Mir Qasim, Clive defeated the others, but at that time, in a very small time, okay, we can say that within a fraction of time, we can say, no, or in Tamil, we can say, within the small gap, he escaped from the place. Mir Qasim escaped from the place and he fled to some other places. The others were captured by them, captured by the Britishers. So they were compelled to sign the Treaty of Allahabad. Treaty of Allahabad means a treaty means it's an agreement. It is an agreement. Okay. So when they sign the treaty, that means they are accepting the British request. Whatever the Britishers say, the others are accepting. So in that situation only they signed the treaty. Okay, so as a result, all territories were returned to the Nawab of Awadh except Kora and Allahabad, which were given to the emperor along with an annual pension. So they accepted the other side, whoever were captured by the Britishers, they had a treaty between them in that they told that if you all sign this treaty of Allahabad, you will be given back your kingdoms. Kingdoms means all that Nawab of Awadh, everything, all the territories will be given back to you, they said. So they signed the treaty. All the places were given except Kora and Allahabad, which were given to the emperor along with an annual pension. Now what happened? After that, they become the Diwans of Bengal. Who? The Britishers become the Diwans of Bengal now. Not only for Bengal, Orissa and Bihar. So this is a picture which shows that they receiving the Diwani rights from the Mughal Emperor in 1765. Okay, you can see the Britishers receiving the Diwani rights, that is the ruling rights for the Bengal, Orissa, and Bihar. Yes, so after that, the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa gave the EEIC the right to collect revenue from this rich region. These regions were considered as the rich region at the time, so they were given the rights to collect revenue. Any amount of tax or any amount of revenue you can collect from any people. So that kind of right was given to them. Okay, but in those places previously, for having the industries, for setting up the factories, the Britishers had to pay the taxes to the diwanis of these places. Now the Britishers are allowed to collect the taxes from the people. So totally the situation changed. Okay, so now the company enjoyed financial control over the region without having any administrative responsibilities, while the Nawab had to run the administration without having control over the finances. So this is called what? A puppet show. Just they were the kings, but all the control, collecting the revenue, everything under the Britishers. These Nawabs were not allowed to collect any revenue. They were the just king. That is, okay, they had no right to collect any money or collect any taxes from the people. Only the Britishers had. Okay, and not only that, after the Battle of Buxar, the EEIC began appointing the residents in various Indian states. The residents in various Indian states. Okay, children, residents means the persons who belong to their places. The resident was a political agent. Who was a resident? He was a political agent of the British interest. So they will do the work for the Britishers. That is why it's called as a political agent. Okay, by interfering with the political and administrative matters of the states they were placed in. Whichever place or whichever parganas they were appointed, they will have the interference with that political and administrative structures. That is, they can question the nawabs of those places. Okay, they will be interfering, they will be checking out whatever it is, because they are appointed by the Britishers. This is like they have the indirect control over those places. Then after that, after capturing Bengal totally, their power expanded to all over India. After becoming the Diwani of Bengal, they expanded their power all over India. Fine, children, I hope that you have understood till this. Okay, let us see about the subsidiary alliance. Okay, this is subsidiary alliance. Let us see what it is. According to the terms of this alliance, that is also like a kind of a treaty, I will tell you. Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent forces. So the Indian rulers, they should not have their own army. They should not have their own forces. All their protections will be given by the company. The company took all that rights. You need not have any army, they told the Indians, they told the Indian rulers. You need not have any army to protect you. We will give you the protection. For that, you have to pay the money. Okay, see here. That is called what? Subsidiary forces. They had to pay for the subsidiary forces. So under Richard Wellesley, who was a Governor General at that time from 1798 to 1805, the Nawab of Awadh and the Nawab of Hyderabad were given, they were forced to give over parts of their territory, had failed to pay for the alliance. So what happened? They were forced to give their territories, and they were forced to take the support from the Britishers. Okay, that subsidiary forces from the Britishers. Okay, because when they were forced to take that subsidiary forces from the Britishers, they failed to pay their alliance. Alliance means பாதுகாப்பு படைக்கு they did not pay the money. Okay, they did not pay the amount for that, whatever the protection forces given by the Britishers. So all their territories were taken back by the Britishers. It was captured by the Britishers. Fine children. So who? Nawab of Awadh and Nawab of Hyderabad under Richard Wellesley. So let us see some kind of terms and conditions put by the Britishers. The Indian ruler had to accept some terms and conditions. What are that? That's what I said. For the protection of the Indian ruler, the British troops would be permanently placed in the territory of the subsidiary state. The ruler would have to pay for the maintenance of the troops. He had to keep a British official at his court all the time in order to observe what is happening in the court, and he could not employ the other Europeans in his service. That is, whoever belonged to Portuguese, French, or whatever it is. Other Europeans should not be employed. Only the British official should be there in the court. Okay, and if anybody was there appointed in the court, they had to be removed. Okay, they were forced to be removed, and he could not form an alliance or partnership. Alliance means what? Partnership with any other power without the permission of the English. So only thing is what I told. If you want to have a trade, you have to have with us. If you want to appoint a person, you have to appoint us only. You should not take any person from the any other places. So these were the terms and conditions put by the Britishers. So what are the disadvantages happened because of the subsidiary alliance? So it had lot of effects on the Indian rulers. The Indian rulers lost their independence. They became like puppets in the hands of the English. They had to pay the huge amount for the subsidies. So what happened? They were not allowed to collect the revenue also. How they were able to pay the money? So this also they had to face a heavy drain. The Gachanala ஒண்ணுமே இல்லைன்பாங்கல்ல. So that kind of situation they had to face. So that is why few Nawabs were not able to pay money for that subsidiary alliance. So totally the administration collapsed. So English used this as an excuse to annex the kingdom on grounds of mismanagement. So using this situation, the Britishers told, you are not fit to rule this kingdom. You are doing the mismanagement. You are misguiding the people. So let us rule your place. We will take your place and we will rule. You don't know how to rule your place. We will see to that. Okay, so the rulers lost interest in the welfare of the people because they are left with no money, so they couldn't do anything for the people. So these are all the disadvantages because of the subsidiary alliance. Hope you have understood, children. Okay, so we will see about the doctrine of lapse in the next class. So we have to see the doctrine of lapse. That is the next one, next agreement that we will see what it is. Then we have to see about Anglo-Mysore Wars. Yes, and how the administrative structure totally developed in India by the Britishers, that we will see in the next class. Fine, children. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. So you have learnt about subsidiary alliance. I have told you what are the terms and conditions given in the subsidiary alliance. Yes. So next one we will see about other. Okay.